Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday and happy week of Christmas. So, if you thought it was going to be a nice and smooth week here, you silly ass might have thought wrong. So, this morning, guys, the big to do on the headlines is COVID 2.0, new strain of the vaccine. So, here's my advice, guys. We can spend, the whole morning prep here talking about news, or we can talk about what I think are the things that matter: price action, support levels, and volatility. So with all that being said, take a look here at the futures. Futures for the S&P 500 down almost 2% here for the time being. If I can find my study, here we go. It's a pullback at the 21 EMA. So the same thing happened last week. Everybody was freaking out, and the market showed us its ability to quickly rebound. Now, I'm not saying it's what's going to happen here. Of course, there's a catalyst. Of course, we could sell off. However, heading into the open, we're hanging near the 21. I think if we can get a close above the 21, everything might be all right. Now, taking a look at the Qs, futures for the Qs here are down about 1%. So the Qs, guys, heading down towards the 21 a little bit, getting a quick bounce back, and we're kind of fighting around that 8 EMA right now. So I would actually, kind of given the headlines here this morning, be pretty impressed if the Qs could close above the 8 EMA today. So taking these things into consideration for the time being, and there's about an hour and a half left until the open, but for the time being, we've pulled back near the mean. We'll see where we go from here. Now, I think the most important chart, I don't care if you're trading Amazon, Tesla, I think the most important chart you can focus on today is the VIX. So the volatility index, our fear gauge, our panic gauge, is firing a daily squeeze this morning. My advice: it's good to understand the context of the headlines, but today, ignore the headlines, focus on the volatility index. If, as we're firing the daily squeeze here, the volatility index continues to climb higher and higher, there's a very good probability we continue to see selling pressure and more downside in the market. But time and time again, once VIX makes this big move, as soon as volatility begins to slow down, and as soon as volatility begins to come back down to earth, the market tends to hold up just fine and continue on its merry way. So if you look at this burst of volatility in September, go look what the S&P 500 index was doing as VIX was spiking, and then go look what the market did when VIX retraced. Same thing over here. Go look at, late October. What did the market do when VIX was pumping? And then what did the market ultimately do once VIX faded? So make this your focus today. Before you go buying a dip, and even before you go shorting the crap out of everything, put some focus on the volatility index. It's a general statement. If she keeps on pumping today and this week, there's probably more downside for the market. If this is kind of the end of it and we just kind of chop around, or even better, begin to pull back into the squeeze, we might hold up just fine. So as far as open positions and big swing positions, the only thing I really got here, guys, is Amazon. So I got a couple of put credit spreads in Amazon for January's expiration. I got one here for the monthly expiration out at 30.80. And then on the next week, January 22nd, I sold the 31.20s, bought the 31.10s. And I also have the same spread as the monthly expiration. On this expiration, sold the 30.80s, bought the 30.70s. So some decent open profit right now. Regardless of the market here today, I'm loving these weekly squeezes. So you can really take your pick. There's Amazon. There is the weekly squeeze in Netflix. Looking pretty damn good here. There's the weekly squeeze in Facebook. There's a squeeze in Microsoft. There's basically a weekly squeeze right now for me on the majority of my focus list. Now here's an example, or a couple examples, of weekly squeezes that have gone ahead here and went. PayPal, she went. Another one, not my favorite stock, but Shopify. Another good-looking weekly squeeze. So I'm showing you guys these weekly squeezes as we're approaching what could be a volatile day. When you're swing trading a bigger time frame like this and you're giving your trade a good 30, 40, 50 days till expiration, especially when you're trading that with a put credit spread, a day like today isn't as big of a deal. So to me, guys, that's what I'm comfortable with right now. We know the market's been extended. We know we're heading into the end of the year here. I'm much more comfortable giving my trades 4, 5, 6 weeks to expiration to work out versus 3 or 4 days, because if you're playing the short game right now, or the short-term game, a morning like this, this kind of sucks. Now, by all means, the market could continue to sell off. Amazon could just get, decimated here this week. But nonetheless, I think right now in this market environment, this is where I'm pretty comfortable. So let's take a look here at Amazon pre-market, down about $15. So on a $3,200 stock, I kind of consider that to be pretty flat. So I'm not looking to add to the position. I like what I got. And my number one goal this week is to spend time with family. So that's what I'm going to do here. And what I'm going to focus on, guys, is volatility. I'm not going to bring my opinion to the market, not my opinion of the virus, my opinion of stimulus, what I think should be taking place. I'm going to focus on what the market is trying to tell me. And if the volatility index just keeps on pumping like a bat out of hell, that tells me there's probably a little bit more selling pressure to come. If things kind of just chill out here, VIX begins to fade, then maybe we can kind of call this a quote-unquote knee-jerk reaction, and maybe the market holds up just fine. So I think we got an hour and a half before the open. Let's leave our opinions out of the market, focus on volatility, and I think we should be all right. So going with the trend here of 2020, it should be an interesting week, but these are the things I'm focusing on. I'll keep y'all posted on the Amazon trade, and that's about that.